really good work in that bottom lane, and we have seen them capable of working and taking over there.
So we do see the Aphelios, gentlemen. We were talking a little bit before. We've seen the Graves be the go-to. In our previous series with V5 and E-Stars, it was this Ashe that was the response, or at least the next highest priority.
All right, we see it there. Look at that. Apathetic's coming back in. The Graves already locked in. And I mean, the Ashe and the Graves, it's a pretty much a no-brainer when you've got this super strong jungler who can take over in that matchup we've highlighted so much.
And I love what we just got from RNG because we have the Volibear coming out, which is going to be a flex pick, so it's going to leave FPX, you know, guessing with what comes next.
And it's actually, if you look at the solo queue, XiaoHu and Nu have both been spamming this, so you don't really know where it is going to be going, just to double down on that. But XiaoHu on the Twisted Fate, this is exactly what we wanted to see. It's no longer crying. We expect him to be getting out early and using that destiny towards that bottom
Hopefully
side.
that little break has given him a bit of motivation, but we see the Ornn on the side of FPX, so Khan on something a little bit more passive as we run into the second ban phase.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because obviously both team comps have very similar aspects in that both can index more towards a pick comp with Ashe on one side, Twisted Fate on the other, but both also having a ton of DPS and great front lines, so gonna also have strong team fighting in them as well.
And I think that's what's going to make this so interesting, is how do you then try and go into this second ban phase? Because we could still see a lot of these champions come out that can work in that more team fight orientated role, especially I feel like that jungle, it's jungle Volibear, so I think we'll be looking towards Nu to try and bring out something, although Volibear does go well against Ornn.
Yeah, and I want to especially see where do FPX go with mid lane, since obviously RNG have picked that up. So you'd expect FPX to pick that on 4 and counter pick support. Something that is still left open is Doinb's Kassadin. And Kassadin, sure, you're going to struggle in early levels against Kassadin, but once against the Twisted Fate, once you get the level 6 point though, you're going to be unlocked to do whatever you want.
And I mean, that's exactly what you could go for. It just ruined the Aphelios day, ruined the likes of this Twisted Fate as well. There's also the option of going back towards something more like the Azir, something along these lines as well, and just double down on this team fight. Doinb has been playing a little bit of it, but it's not really a big Doinb challenge.
We've also seen the supported picks come through. You notice the Karma being banned, but the Tahm Kench from Crisp is a different direction. Gentlemen, we still need that support. We have the option of mid-counter pick to finish off FPX's draft though.
But you're going to get mid-counter pick regardless, since RNG have already showed. So if FPX do go towards support here, which I really wouldn't care to see they do, it's all about getting Crisp on comfort.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it is on comfort, but I do agree with you there. I would have rather hold on here so then you can just go, right, see what the support is, make sure we're getting that counter pick when you already know you're against that Twisted Fate in the mid lane.
And realistically, you knew this would be the answer from RNG, right? If you're picking the Nautilus, you're going to come against the Leona. Could have just been vice versa. I don't feel like it changes the dynamic of the matchup all that much. Now I want to see where RNG go, because I would expect XiaoHu to go more towards an early ganking jungler rather than the Volibear.
I'm curious to see if they just go towards something like a Wukong here, though, for RNG, and you just have that Volibear jungle, and you just go all in. Okay!
Dude, is this MLX
He's been playing this one as well.
What the? This is a reminiscent moment of old RNG junglers. Remember MLXG coming in for Game 5's RNG IG Summer Finals. This is his pick. XiaoHu's debuting it.
The pick potential on RNG is disgusting right now, though, where you've got this long-range Nocturne, this Twisted Fate that can join in super quickly.
Dive, right?
Yeah, you can just pick off people so easily around the map, and FPX are going to have to be very careful about how they play this.
And I'm actually really surprised now, so they're locking in the Sylas, and you just pointed out pick potential, but the more specific way of pointing out is Doinb's not going to have fun in the side lane. Because not only is a Destiny going to come to follow up, the Nocturne ultimate's going to come out as well, and you're not going to be able to do anything as Doinb in that scenario.
I mean, who's going to have fun in a side lane here at all in FPX? You got the Volibear into Ornn, great matchup there for the Volley. You got that chip potential as well for the Twisted Fate. So right now, RNG can play through side lanes and then go towards this super heavy dive. FPX need to get the ball rolling early here, or just run the risk of RNG playing through side lanes.
So let's talk a little bit more about how FPX's draft works, because it's quite standard, straightforward. Doinb on Sylas seems to affect it as well.
The good thing for FPX is, so we just pointed out they can't play through side lanes. They have an extremely strong 5v5, right? So they're going to keep grouping up together. And the great thing about here in, Season 10 is the fact that it is a lot more impactful to just group up and force the enemy team to match you with Drakes. You don't have to go push side lane turrets down.
And especially when you've got that strong bottom lane as well in the Ashe, and you can work through that. You've also at least got the Sylas who can play pretty heavily in those fights as well towards Dragons. So at least Tian on this Brave should be able to play and start picking up these nice early Dragons, and then forcing RNG to play towards that third Dragon.
Been his favorite pick. Tian now his 7th game of Graves. This has been his go-to, while for XiaoHu, this is big news with him debuting the Nocturne pick. Now, he's had a wide jungle pool. This has not been played in the LPL. This split So MLXG flashbacks here with the pick you talked about.
And don't forget that it only just got buffed as well. So now that Umbral Blades passive will proc onto monsters as well. So the clear is a little bit nicer. It means that he will get a little bit faster and also stay nice and healed up.
But it is exciting just to see a new pick, and the comp RNG have put together an innovative draft to run into Game 1 against FPX, the 2019 World Champions. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, as we get our JIOs. I was almost on top of that one. We got our featured matchup here for the English broadcast. We got our first TriCast to bring towards you as well with Dagdat Lyric and myself, taking you into Game 1, RNG FPX, the 2019 Summer Finals. Always in the back of our mind as we run into the Rift, and setting up for an early invade is FPX.
I actually really like it as well because Sylas, of course, an extremely strong champion at level 1 because you can't just take that abscond abduct, and Ashe as well going to be able to spam those volleys, and even Crisp with the dredge line. So FPX going to have the tools to come out ahead if a level 1 skirmish breaks out.
It looks like RNG might be reading this, though. They're kind of going, hang on a second, we're going to group up a bit towards top side and see if we can get our own vision in case this goes down.
So it makes sense, right? They're going to trade because they know they don't come out ahead, but seeing Keystones, really surprising we have Doinb going towards Comet on Sylas. Of course, Sylas does typically run the Conqueror, so wanting to play more of a burst trade, shorter trade style rather than just all in the Twisted
Something
Fate.
we've seen a lot into Ornn's in the top lane, right? With the Sylas running into that matchup to get, as you said, a better trade.
Well, it's just very standard on Sylas. You are the type of champion who wants extended trades, get on the back line, keep getting instances of your passive, building that Conqueror up, healing up as well. But again, signals shorter trades coming out from Doinb.
And it'll work well, at least getting this poke off early. XiaoHu's not exactly going to be able to get away from it. And if you are able to start to get this matchup going in your favor with XiaoHu low, you can have Tian play towards mid, as we already talked about. The absconded duck super strong, and Tian will have pretty much free roam until Xiaolongbao hits that level 6.
Well, exactly. So that's what I'm interested in seeing, is the fact that FPX are the ones who have tools to make action happen early game.
Oh, hang on. Flash here from Chris with the Ignite down. Gala's going to survive, though, only burning the heal. I think FPX thought they were going to get more out of that trade than they did, but into the dredge line, maybe it's not over, but Ignite under the turret. All they need is one more. It's a flash from Ming, and First Blood over to RNG. Gala low with Tian coming in, trying to fight off to keep Ming alive. End of the line, not enough damage, and FPX suffer.
I just wonder if this is that grudge match rivalry that Dagda was speaking of. The best 2 supports last year, Chris trying to show his stuff.
I don't think it's over, though.
I don't know if I like his stuff so far, though.
Tian's going to make the dive happen, though, gents. End of the line. Ming's going to go for the engage onto Tian with Severum, not the play. A smite onto the minion won't be enough, as Gala has the range with New coming down with a TP. Early blood with a flash from Lwx, the Sky Splitter. Not in range. And an RNG trade still ahead in goal.
Super messy from FPX. Tian trying to go underneath the tower when the minion wave shows up means he can't get the auto attacks onto Ming, and it all goes disastrously.
I'm just going to be honest, it didn't make sense at all. Starting from the beginning with Chris, trying to go so aggressive, the play didn't make sense to me, looked so risky, but I guess that's why we love the LPL.
Well said. We also noticed that the junglers started with vertical jungling in this game 1. Tian went to the bottom side. He has to go back to square one.
The big thing here, though, is that Tian has slowed down, right? He's already a level behind, will catch up. But the thing is, that ticking time bomb that is Xiaolongbao and getting to level 6 has now been kind of put behind for FPX because, well, they can't keep up now as Xiaolongbao goes to clear, and he'll be able to get access to that level 6 and have more power in this game.
Exactly, and I like that you point out ticking time bomb because it's really going to be RNG's comp coming online in the mid game, and they're going to have to abuse those windows. But still, FPX were set up to try and find a lead and potentially stop that before it even happens.
And think about how powerful that level 6 is. XiaoHu gets Destiny, you get that ult from Xiaolongbao, and you get the ult from New. You can just disable a tower and go, let's hold hands together and go kill Khan.
And look at the bot lane summoners. If Lwx even walks to the neutral point of his lane, he's just dead.
Feels bad when you have cleanse down that early in the game, as Tian is still towards the vertical path of the map. Teleport going to be used mid, as Crisp is also roaming, just trying to find something back in this game. And Xiaolongbao actually towards Krugs. And CS has been evened by Tian, so keep an eye on the jungle matchup as we progress.
And one thing we need to keep in mind as well is the fact that New does have TP advantage. So with Dragon coming up soon, FPX can try to find an advantage in that way.
They definitely can, but they still need to be a little bit careful. Cull has been picked up by Lwx, so you'll also have a pushing top lane for New, so there is an opportunity potentially for New to just roam down, and Gala with that pickaxe just outwin in the fight. And XiaoHu about to level 6. We've seen how dangerous he can be around these Dragon objectives, just pulling the trigger on engages.
Yeah, and this just goes back to what we were saying earlier about how unfortunate it is that FPX are now kind of starting on the back foot, and we've seen this Volibear just be so lane dominant.
The beauty of this is, though, this is why I love watching these top teams, is how they can punish just one or two mistakes that come through. So Lwx and Crisp go over-aggressive in the bottom lane. Right, RNG know now that they have the potential to go aggressive. They're shoving in this bottom lane, giving time to XiaoHu to take these dragons, and then they can start to use this level 6 mark that's about to hit.
So you just picked it up so quickly, right? There's the first dragon of the game going down. Also note that Doinb can steal the Destiny and already has one in his back pocket, an interaction that was visually mentioned.
Yep, so that is a nice thing about the Sylas, but going back to that mid lane matchup from what we just saw from lane, it is still so weird to me that we have the Sylas picking up Comet where we can see from lane, he is not going to outpoke Twisted Fate.
Yep.
You are looking for all-in trades, and XiaoHu's just kind of left benefiting from that.
Also feels like Absconded Duck needing to connect to actually get the full benefit as well. XiaoHu was backing away in a brush. Now this is an Ignite TF. He's walking towards bottom lane with Destiny available.
I think I'd prefer to see him hold on for a second, because in a minute and a half we're going to have that Rift Herald spawn.
Sure.
If you go and make that play topside, you can just go straight down towards the Rift Herald then afterwards. So I don't think there's much pressure here on RNG to continue making the plays bot side.
The good thing if they do look for the bot play though is, they can secure that kill.
Speak of the devil, here's Destiny from Doinb first actually. XiaoHu for the defensive Destiny himself.
Yep, because we need to remember, whoever does make this bot play can just get bot lane prio and then try to rotate their bot lane over first. So it is still an avenue of turning that play bot into a Rift Herald play.
And XiaoHu, make sure he doesn't get caught out. Gold card just in case as Tian level 5 versus the level 7 here on the umpire.
So everyone's going to be backing away from the moment. I'm so tense watching this game, because you know where everyone wants to try and make their moves. You know that RNG is trying to get XiaoHu out, but at least with that Destiny burnt as of now, it's going to slow down the RNG game plan, and the initial Destiny from RNG is super crucial in trying to get this Twisted Fate rolling, trying to set up their mid game well. So that cooldown is actually a bit of a luxury that FPX have managed to get rid of it.
Yeah, the good thing for the side of RNG is the fact that since they have also drafted the Nocturne, right, you do still have this global play coming out if FPX do overextend anywhere on the map. But now looking over the side of FPX, looking for where they can make a play, it's going to be very telegraphed, right? It pretty much has to be around mid or bot. You're not going to typically look towards the top lane.
But the beauty for them here is that Lwx has hit that level 6. All his summoners are starting to come back up alongside Crisp. So if they are able to start shoving in this bottom lane, they might be able to roam towards that Rift Herald and use some of these advantages that they do have on the map.
I'm just excited to see that first fight, right? When Destiny's up again for XiaoHu, when the Rift Herald gets looked at a little bit more seriously with RNG holding control. To see that paranoia versus paranoia, because Doinb can also steal that one if he gets onto XiaoHu.
We're going to see Rift Herald started for some reason. I'm trying to figure out. I mean, they do have Doinb backing, so he'll be a little bit late to the party.
And I want to take a step back to what you were talking about earlier with Lwx hitting that, level 6 mark is. I would have even liked to see them just back and maybe even just look for a play mid, right? Just walk down mid, stand under turret with no vision, throw the arrow down onto XiaoHu, make him burn a flash, and then you turn that into some pressure for Rift Herald.
Well, something would have been nice, but unfortunately we haven't got anything. Doinb on the back, Lwx is there as well. I don't know why FPX are contesting this.
I mean, Tian and Chris late to the party. Gold card acquired as XiaoHu gets engaged on Paranoia used into the backline as Tian gets low. Crisp as well. He burns down. And FPX have blinking health bars everywhere as Stormbringer from you even forces out Khan. Rift Herald acquired, and RNG go back to pick it on up.
Indagda called it. I have no idea why that play was made. Hysterics.
It was stolen, sir.
It was stolen.
It was stolen by Tian. I
apologize,
apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, the steal coming through, but still with the death, RNG pretty much even out.
Still, I guess the ult coming out a bit too late from XiaoHu. Obviously could have, turned on that darkness, secured the smite for himself, but we can see here that, Lwx just isn't here. We did see in our last series a team be able to win a 5v4, but Obviously not able to do it this time.
Oh,
Oh,
no, it was a Q.
it was a Q.
Oh, that is so sad. But yeah, I mean, look, LWX was in base, as you were saying. Doinb had only just got back onto the map. It's bizarre to me they went for that here.
Dagda, what is the problem with LPL jugglers and smites, though? How do we
Dude.
always get it to where the smite doesn't secure the objective? I remember the other week where we had the slice and dice. Can't remember who it was from. I think it was the Shy.
Something
Secure
like,
a Baron.
Yeah.
We've had obviously many smiteless moments here in the LPL.
At least we're not as bad as the LEC with the Aphelios turret. That's at least what we can give
Oh,
ourselves here.
man. That was, yeah, a bit of splash damage given for the salt. That was last night, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it
Oh,
was,
yeah. I saw that, the turret splash damage. Ooh. But hey, I guess they have the big moment, but we have like consistent moments.
Consistent big moments.
Yeah, well, big or bad, I'm not entirely sure which one, but
We're so
either way,
positive.
we're consistent in one direction.
At least one.
Now we do have the ultimate for XiaoHu back up, so we're going to keep our eyes on RNG to be the ones to make a play. Of course, Doinb has ultimate up as well, so he will be able to answer if he still can skill that ultimate.
But, gentlemen, we're going to get an idea of the elemental rift here in this game one because FPX have full control around the dragon. XiaoHu not able to contest, of course. Give it over, and there we go. It's going to be a mountain rift.
And the big thing for FPX is, since they did manage to get that steal, it makes it a lot more difficult for RNG, at least in the early stages, to start getting some of these turret plates and cracking open these turrets as well. Because ideally, they'd like to create these longer reigns by getting these side lane turrets down, but not having the likes of a Rift Herald to help in succeeding with that pressure makes it a lot more difficult to enact their game plan.
I mean, I agree, and you pretty much traded one kill for a dragon, honestly, for the fact that you weren't able to pick up the Rift Herald yourself, so could have been able to way to keep snowballing that gold. And I guess RNG wanting to wait for both of their global ultimates to come off cooldown before they look to make a play. And we got to remember, they don't even just need to look for a gank. They can always look to set up a dive on the bot lane as well.
If
Or
you use
top.
it.
They can do either. You've got a Volibear there. He's perfectly fine to just
True.
get rid of that turret. And I know you usually go, well, it's Khan, he's on this Ornn, it's going to be difficult. When there's not a tower there, it becomes a lot easier, especially with the mixed damage that you've got in that play.
And we've seen from, I think it was Flandre, how much a fed Volibear can do on
Yeah.
the map, so a lot of avenues they could snowball.
With Trinity Force almost picked up as well to add that into the mix. New, pretty close with the two components already picked up. We have to go across the board because before we get to this dragon, we will see ourselves with another Herald and potentially another fight. Rod of Ages mid for XiaoHu is also important from the TF, who, as you mentioned, wants to start setting up the dive, start moving across the map and influence the early game of RNG.
Yeah, and we actually are starting to see Ming move towards the mid lane, which is what Dagda was saying you want to see coming into this match.
As Ghost going to be used, gold card onto Doinb, solar flare, that's so nicely done. Well played by RNG.
And overall, it's just so annoying to play. Again, not only against a Nocturne, but also a Twisted Fate.
He wasn't even in the side lane.
He wasn't even in the middle of his own lane. It was closer to his side.
Oh, that is so sad to see. And even with the Ghost as well, just adding insult to injury, means they're able to take that down. And because Khan moved down here, you're just giving more time to Nu. He's cracked open 2 turret plates for himself. So RNG picking up not only that kill advantage, but more on top of everything.
So overall, we got to, do a status report of the fact that we are seeing RNG here today, ladies and gentlemen. No RNG to be seen just yet.
Yeah.
But we have seen RNG in these positions before and still kind of start flubbing execution in mid-game. And again, FPX's comp definitely can go toe-to-toe in the later stages.
And I think that's the big thing for me is the way, especially against WE, where we had a fairly similar composition. Now, I know it was Crying versus XiaoHu, whatever, but still that game plan to try and shove in side lanes with this Twisted Fate fell apart completely and abruptly, and it meant that WE were able to find that one team fight to turn that game around. So again, we want to see RNG make sure that they are sticking to their guns and using these side lanes as best they can.
Especially for the fact that, Nocturne, obviously a very squishy champion. You're just pretty much going to go in the later stages of the game, and if you don't burst someone out in one combo, you're just going to die. Twisted Fate, sure, you do have damage in the late game, but you're not, as bursty as other mages like a Zoe or a Syndra, or have a lot of DPS. You are definitely a middle ground, so not going to fare as well as something like a Sylas.
I was actually curious to see in this matchup, particularly if XiaoHu was going to go towards the bone plating and to demolish, like get the resolve tree and be a little bit tankier against the Sylas, but I think he's still gone for that transcendence. Just having more access to the cooldowns is what he's trying to go for, and making these plays with Destiny more often.
I will say as a balance, LWX only has one cleanse though, so with a Nocturne, with XiaoHu as well, there's going to be a lot of persistence on top of FPX.
You can even get the gravitum from Gala as
Yeah,
well.
that's
So it's
right.
just like, hey,
Solar
every
flare.
single person here CCs you.
That's
Have fun,
true.
buddy.
It's kind of annoying. We'll see how it's used now, because in the bottom lane, Gala and Ming were setting up. Seems like they're backing away for now, while the rest of RNG are posturing aggressively.
Yeah, I don't expect too much to happen yet. Obviously, XiaoHu doesn't have Destiny, but looks like it'll be about 20 seconds or so. But you can see FPX are very cognizant of the Nocturne ultimate. They're not even walking, like 40% of the way through their lane.
At least they will get the opportunity now to find that fight that they want to, though. Because Blade of the Rune King literally just finished there for Lwx. You've Doinb who's also gone for this Luden's Echo. So when it comes to this fight for Dragon, or at least trying to force RNG into a fight, there is an opportunity to make that play happen. What?
I mean,
that was good. He needed to get back to
get rid of us. Get rid of us.
Okay, yeah.
I'll say it's spellbook, guys.
I was about to say.
Please, as the resident XiaoHu apologist, let me...
that wasn't a time you need to apologize.
Don't diss my boy.
All right. Makes sense. All right, I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, but at least we're set up for this next fight, right?
How does it feel that you don't have to apologize for Mole anymore? You have to apologize for XiaoHu. I feel like you've taken a few steps up.
It's a weird world.
I just want to bring your attention to the fact that also on top of this Dragon, the Rift Herald has spawned as well. As FPX do have the positional advantage, but Destiny's going to be used, it seems, to get into position. Paranoia into the backline. Xiaolongbao gets the lockdown and forces Tian out of the fight. With the numbers advantage, RNG have the damage, but FPX bring in Khan. Gets a double knock-up, keeps them engaged in the backline. Ooh. But FPX are going forward. Gala challenged by Lwx, as now he's stuck between XiaoHu and Yu, who are going to take him down while Ming drops as well. And FPX are trading their losses. And even split across the board.
And that feels like a win for FPX in my book, because RNG definitely should be favored in skirmishes right now. We saw the coordination wasn't there. New didn't have a good ward to TP to, so he had to TP in the middle of mid lane, wasn't able to get into the fight.
As he's going to get knocked up again, zoning while Tian does this. Sky Splitter is going to start the engage, forces the flush out of Khan. XiaoHu was behind with the gold card himself, and RNG will take that summoner, give up the dragon here. Over to the Ornn for the mountain.
And it's just doubling down on what Lwx said. It's a win for FPX. They find a fight where they go even. They do get the dragon when all is said and done. And especially with a mountain dragon, or mountain soul even, and the comp that FPX have, that is super strong.
Yeah, and we see here they try to all into onto Tian, but we look at where New's TP was coming from. Wasn't even in the fight. We see Gala getting split off from the rest of the members. Terrible ultimate coming out from him. And sure, it ends up being a 1-for-1. But as the comp that is going to do well later in the game and still getting the dragon, FPX are feeling great.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see the panic there from Gala. Just fired out. Hopefully it hits someone that can grab it to him. But yeah, it's a weird fight from RNG where that was the issue that I wanted to point out in WE, is that the coordination isn't always quite there for RNG, and you can see it just exemplified there once again that we need to see them more coordinated when they come into these plays. Now, at least with the Rift Herald that they did manage to pick up, they can get some of these structures.
I mean, good reset here versus FPX's bottom lane, pushing this down with Tian. First turret, bit of a race on, but it is RNG who's secure, and we talked about the early game momentum. RNG also going to have second push topside with no answer here yet.
I was going to say, this is not a race that FPX want to opt into, but they're still sticking to their guns. We see Lwx and Tian staying bot.
It's Chakrams. This is Chakrams.
This
is what you use to take turrets. Why would you trade?
Destiny.
I really don't know what's going on.
Okay, Doinb is in here, but inhibitor turret goes down. And you know what? FPX giveth, FPX taketh away. His New's going to be caught on out meanwhile into the Stormbringer, but he's out. And RNG almost take an inhibitor.
Yeah, and overall, a bit of a mistake from New on the back end of that, but at the same time, okay, we lose New's ultimate, but you get an extra turret for the side of RNG. And we've said it so many times on broadcast, you know what a split push comp loves is a longer lane to play through.
And a free one. I mean, no turret there. You could just walk in as XiaoHu, take a couple of chip damage at that inhibitor, and if anyone tries to aggress you, you just Destiny the hell out. Like, this is perfect for RNG, especially when they can have New, at least when they start to play towards that Baron. Teleport will be back up for the Volibear. He can start pressuring this bottom side as well.
I do feel like that is a very, optimistic scenario.
Look, I like to be optimistic.
If XiaoHu actually gets to walk up to the inhibitor and auto hit it all.
Hang on. Have you just seen the play that FPX made? I'm not certain that FPX are going to be in a position where they are able to defend against some of this pressure.
Well, it's not about they won't be in a position. It's that they chose not to be in a position, right?
True.
But ultimately, now, pretty much anywhere Khan walks in this lane or Doinb, they're going to be in such a rough position. I'd love to see them keep... It's going to be rough, right, since Baron's coming up, but if you would have been able to have New in this lane and then 3-man gank a soul laner here.
Further to both of you, it's how you set up the comps with side lane's going to be so hard. RNG want to play that pick potential game. now set up to succeed to do so. I just quickly want to touch on items before we get towards the next dragon. As Chris with Graviton might be called out, Destiny's going to be used. He will get out with the dredge line, but gold card in time. The arrow to save the support. The poke almost enough with the ignite.
Ooh. And
the Graviton follow-up. Ming picks up a kill. A bit of a pick off of Chris as he gets caught on out. They're going to be pushing mid off this as well. And with the almost rapid-fire cannon on XiaoHu, this shouldn't be hard in the next coming waves.
And I'm actually happy that this play just happened, because I was actually going to point out that, hey, we don't even need to just see RNG find picks on sides. They can just use that pressure, get to a team fight first, create numbers advantage, and go for these skirmishes.
Yeah, and it's easy to do when you've got this long lane. Khan doesn't have the teleport. He can't follow. Doinb still doesn't either. So just using that shove where you know FPX have to respond to set up this play. You can see the second Khan shows in lane. RNG like, cool, let's go for it, guys. We get the pick on towards Chris. He goes down nice and quick. This last auto attack from Gala as well, just beautiful to finish it off.
And ultimately, talking about Gala, it's been, you know, I'd say not like a standout, like star-breaking performance, but he's been doing his job. RNG been playing well, and what more can you ask for?
That's all I want to see right now is more of this from RNG, because we've been so critical of them when it comes to how they play this mid-game that having this really nice call where they realize how far they can push the envelope is just such a breath of fresh air for this team.
I think RNG fans need a reprieve from what they've seen in the past couple of weeks, right? Where RNG started off the split quite better than expected, dropped a little bit, and now we're seeing the RNG again that can test some of these top teams. It's a good early game. We're setting up towards the Dragon. Gents, get ready because gold card's already thrown on out. And FPX get poked down a little bit.
And the thing to look for is if RNG can coordinate a engage onto Lwx, right? If XiaoHu, Nu, and XiaoHu can all get onto that backline at the same time. XiaoHu also does have stopwatch, so we can see an aggressive Destiny coming in.
You can, but I mean, you've still got a lot of firepower that's coming out with Tian. Doinb's looking pretty good as well, so unless they can very quickly dismantle Lwx and move on to the rest of the team, if there's even a moment's hesitation, the rest of FPX can pounce.
Just note that Stormbringer's been picked up by Doinb, and with Call the Forge God, that's a lot of wombo to build up here for FPX if they find that full-on engage. As gold card once again moving into the choke of vision. Tian's here, spotted out Chris onto the backline with Solar Flare. Doinb has to use that ulti to get away with Khan getting the ulti to disengage. Into the backline goes Xiaolongbao, dodges away from Tian with Destiny from XiaoHu. A split-up fight for RNG while Lwx will be engaged on himself, flashes away. One more hit, and it's secured by Nu. He survives long enough to disrupt the rest of FPX, while everyone from RNG goes forward. The pick a card once more, set up to kill Tian. And everyone from RNG feeling pretty good after that one.
FPX looked like headless chickens in that fight. Didn't know which way to turn. Do we help Tian? Do we help Lwx? And it means that RNG are able to find that fight where they can use the pressure from XiaoHu and Xiaolongbao's ultimate to pick off and dismantle what FPX wants it to do.
And it was really confusing for both sides, actually, because, okay, we see RNG go for the engage. Doinb has to jump away. Then FPX start to scatter in both directions, and RNG looked a bit confused, like, wait, do we commit to one side or do we scatter? Well, Xiaolongbao goes one way all by himself, and the rest of RNG are like, hey, let's just kill their front line.
Yeah, and you'll see it here. I was actually a bit worried when this engage started. Like, Khan has got this great angle across the team, but with Tian separated, trying to set up this front-to-back fight isn't quite there. So you can have two members of RNG go towards Tian, while just the damage from Nu is wreaking havoc in FPX's other three-man units.
And it was so massive, the fact that both Khan and Doinb had to blow their ultimates, because it's like you said. So one, you're already missing probably your most prevalent source of damage in the early game, which is the Graves. And now it's like, hey, well, your front line, we can just ignore them. They have nothing. Let's just jump past them as Nu.
As now, here comes MLXB onto the backline Lwx, and oh no, it's MLXD again, as Lwx will survive and FPX have the man advantage. Nu's gone too far forward. And this has just been thrown back as Khan with a perfect re-engage off the backline. Call the Forge God was horrible, but it might not matter as Ming tries to get out on the escape path. The knockup comes through. Gala is hitting the ears again onto Tian. The poke flies through. Everyone low. It's Destiny with you. The AoE from XiaoHu set up to succeed. And boy, oh boy, is this the mess we need in the LPL. Give him a triple, give one to the Aphelios, and RNG take it back.
And that was absolutely massive coming out from both Gala and XiaoHu. Crazy to see they weren't able to coordinate that to start off, but at the end, the three of them come together and pick up the win.
How did Khan mess up that ultimate, though? That was the fight. You just picked off Xiaolongbao. You're 4 versus 5. This should be FPX bringing it back. Instead, they whiff and give RNG the opportunity to pick up the Baron.
Exactly. We need to move on and say, okay, RNG fans, first of all, XiaoHu is your man. Like, you guys need to stick with him. And two, Gala, like a nice surprise coming in. You know, he's on the Aphelios, but he's being enabled to do his job well.
6k gold lead, Baron in hand, 25 minutes in. Now, gentlemen, let's come back. The pick potential's there, but it was FPX who got the pick on XLB.
Dagda said we need to see coordination from RNG with these engages. This is everything except coordinated.
You don't even have the Destiny up now, so it's just XiaoHu going to make a play by himself. And this ult here, I don't get from Khan. If you just point that at Gala, you're like, cool. Now we can just run down this Aphelios. Instead, Gala gets the free hit this whole time because no one can close the gap onto him. And these long-range damage abilities are so hard to deal with.
That was just so clutch coming in from XiaoHu. But going back to Khan's ultimate, it looked like he was stopped by the terrain, right? He wasn't able to hit the angle that would have hit the rest of the members. He could actually only hit it the way he did. Well, feels bad, guys.
that whole fight. I mean, this game has been so back and forth in the sense it's like, you want to take a step forward? Okay, we'll mess it up.
This is what's so hard about LPL, though. We have, like, RNG going up and down. We have EDG all over the place. Who is good and who's bad? I don't know.
Well, right now, RNG are looking pretty damn good because they have the side lane pressure comp. They're the ones with the Baron. And FPX will try and get this mid lane turret.
Solar Flare, Destiny, Call the Forge, got everything used at once into the backline. That Destiny needs to be hit as Khan goes on in without the help of his team, steering charge away as that's a 4-man Infernum with the Moonlight Vigil. But no one's died yet. XiaoHu running forward, the golden card connects onto Tian as they chat across the area for the re-engage onto New. That's the disengage. Doinb uses his ultimate a little bit better. The Zenith Blade into the backline. A hard fight to track. Aphelios time though. Gala hasn't been hit, but Lwx is doing the same until Gala says, forward my warriors. RNG have the health bars, but the re-engage from Chris onto Gala was gorgeous. Forward for Tian. Forward for FPX. This fight is back in their favor.
FPX just about managing to turn this around. Getting onto Gala was the big difference maker there, and that was what I was worried about seeing Gala here. One step too far forward, FPX pounds, and they managed to turn this back around.
And bear in mind that Gala actually still had heal up as well in that fight, and that was just all over the place, right? Khan actually stepping a bit too far forward with XiaoHu's ult not exactly starting the fight off. We are going to see here what happens after that. XiaoHu running forward, hitting that gold card. Things a bit awkward because you don't actually have really any team fighting ultimates up. So FPX feeling confident to go in with the fight, and no one able to get onto the backline of FPX. And look at Tian. He's just left to pretty much deal all the DPS he wants.
And you can see how chaotic this fight is from both sides. Because as you said, look, you've got Khan who's got to take a step back. You've got New as well who tried to get into that fight. And he ends up ulting out.
Dagda?
Because Gala's just silly.
We just praised him.
That's
we just
all
said this is what RNG fans want to see.
And this is Gala. This is what you get with Gala. It's like, hey, he looks real good. It's looking clean. And then you're just like, hang on a second, lad.
Are you ready to do it again? Because we're doing this again.
No.
New has ulti available. Shalom Bao also the same. Dragon contested. This is heading towards Soul Point.
Also going to say, keep in mind, Lwx has flash up. Gala doesn't. So it's going to be really massive to see on who can get on top of who's back.
Inside track towards the inhibitor turret, or at least inside turret for now. That's going to be the trade for Dragon. Soul Point next for FPX.
But still, stacking up mountains, even ignoring Soul. We have Nocturne, who buys lethality, so obviously all that armor is going to suck for him. We've already talked about how TF's not going to turn into a huge damage turret as well, and even New is really going to suffer against FPX being able to stack these dragons.
And you're forced into this fight as RNG as well, because there's not a hope you can give Mountain Soul across as well. 3 dragons plus that shield is going to make this pick comp really difficult to operate. So now, as FPX, you're like, cool, let's just keep these sideways in order for a little bit of time and then make our move when we get towards this next dragon.
I actually think, despite losing 5k right now, FPX might be favored now. They might be the driver's seat.
Plus, Ornn items we talk about a lot, how it builds up that gold discrepancy, right? So it's not really 5k anyway. And then you guys also mentioned how heavily that 5v5 is in FPX's favor. How the late game looks easier for them when they group up as well.
But just look at the options that RNG have when we go towards, okay, push in a wave and try and make a pick. You've got Dead Stance that's already completed for Lwx. He can go towards a GA next. You've got that Zhonya's Error class for Doinb now as well. The only person you can really go for is Tian, and even then he's a Graves. He's pretty tanky. So overall, your options are really starting to be limited as RNG. So So unless they can try and make these sideways work right now before the dragon spawns, this is looking a bit dicey.
Like, to me, the target in the fight you all need to jump onto is still Lwx.
Okay.
That stance isn't going to be enough to really stop them from bursting him out. We've already, like, Sylas is a bruiser or pseudo tank in the sense of like how much lifesteal he does having out of his W. And Graves, of course, does have a lot of tankiness inherently and from his build as well. So Lwx is like the clear option. We just need to see all the members get on at the same time, which, you know, that's not necessarily your choice. FPX are obviously trying to dissuade that as well.
Death Stance makes it a little bit harder, but I'll also note that alongside the rapid fire cannon, you've now got a Rabadons that was just finished for XiaoHu, so the pick potential added, but also the damage is quite massive from this mid tier.
They do have the rapid fire, obviously, for trying to make that pick and fights,
Yeah.
but I mean, now you got Lichbane and Rabadons. If you can get onto a turret as XiaoHu, you will just disintegrate.
Also, the thing that this buy tells me, right, because typically we'd see a Zhonya's come out from...
Hang on, Khan's going to get a 3-man knockup, but he's under the turret before the rest of FPX gets there. What the heck was that?
It's a solid question.
Khan has not been having a very good game despite his KDA actually being pretty well, but we saw right there, right? XiaoHu realizes he has to be a carry in this team comp. He has to be a damage threat. Guys, you need to stop getting confused over this one.
Look, I know. We just haven't seen people really go through the summoner support of teleport this quickly to get something like the Ignite. As a man advantage for 25 seconds. More importantly, gents, Baron getting started. Khan has TP, but 20 seconds to wait. RNG trying to burst this down.
There is a level advantage on Tian, though, so a little bit of an advantage towards FPX if he can get into this pit.
But XiaoHu has ultimate.
Hang on, yeah, XiaoHu over the wall, flash in for New. The Wombo's there. They nail them down, but FPX get the first kill onto Xiaolongbao. Crisp is still alive, while Doinb is as well, and they can't get to Lwx. Ming gets a good engage, but no one there to follow up for the
Gala?
damage. And RNG
Gala?
just need to find that Aphelios moment, which apparently happens with a quadra kill going over. Khan's TP'd in to give him the Penta, apparently, as the heal to follow up. Ming wants the engage, flash away from Zenith Blade, and Pentas are earned, not given, as Gala still trying to chase this one up.
He's so goddamn tanky, he can't get through him, but Gala had his moment. That's what we wanted to see from the RNG AD carry. And it looks like maybe they're going to start up this Baron.
And I'm just saying, Benny is starting to sweat right now because
Yeah.
Gala wants this job. And we better see that clip on Reddit because that was absolutely wonderful.
You know we will. The first time, I'm so happy I didn't get tilted by an Aphelios player. I actually ignored him completely.
Wait.
As Khan over the wall doesn't have flash available. Gala's playing this safe, but the damage is still there as Ming might get solo killed in the process to save this one away. TP in the backside, but Baron should be going down here, soloed out, while Ming should die at the cost of it. TP in response by New, but Baron secured by RNG.
But it's 35 seconds until this Mountain Dragon spawns. They can go towards Soul here without Ming on the map and all those teleports invested into getting towards this Baron.
Yeah, overall, FPX actually going to be able to profit off of this play. A kind of silver lining for RNG off that one is it actually did take Gala so long. All the members of RNG do have Baron, so they're going to be able to have pressure in some ways, but ultimately, all the cards are with FPX right now heading towards this Mountain Soul.
All right, gents, let's get the setup. 10 seconds to go. Items picked up. You can see 3 for Doinb, almost 4 for Lwx. FPX here first. Warmogs for Khan to front line. As it begins off, and of course, they've secured this. RNG not going to contest.
The thing that I'm looking at, though, is, again, RNG, yes, you had Gala who was able to turn that fight around, but RNG's coordination still isn't there. They're not. One person's jumping onto Lwx, namely XiaoLongbao. XiaoHu's not coming in to try and help and solidify that kill in the backline, and it's still super messy from RNG, where I want to see that clear-cut coordination.
I do think it is at the point where it's really hard, though, right?
Yeah,
like,
fair.
That was almost as close as you can get to all of you jumping into the team fight at the same time, and we said, hey, Nocturne is, you know, a very squishy champion. You are pretty much an assassin. You go and you die right away. It was shown right there, especially with 3 mountains. You are not going to burst anyone out on the side of RNG. Luckily, though, we need to remember that there's always a win condition when there's an Aphelios on your team. We've been shown that time and time again, but, you know, now it's going to be down to execution
Full
on these
build
teams.
with GA, by the way. So level 16 Aphelios has maxed out everything, apart from selling the shoes here at 34 minutes in the game. Nothing available on the map, bar turrets. 4 minutes till Baron, 5 till Elder. Baron's still in hand for another minute 15 on RNG.
It feels like a lot of these fights rest on Con, though, and also I suppose a little bit on Crisp, is if they can disrupt Gala enough. Because what Gala's going to be doing is chasing after these fights, where XiaoHu, XiaoHu are all leaping in, and Gala's kind of running as catch-up to the rest of the guys. So if you can have Con with these big ultimates disrupt Gala's ability to get into these fights, same when you look towards Crisp, there is an opportunity that FPX can deal with that beefy front line, or at least make it a lot more difficult for Gala to deal that damage.
Just on a side note, look towards the bottom side. That's the damage done with Baron buff and a TF in the side lane. Pulls FPX's attention. News actually also walked towards the top side of the map.
I'm actually really surprised that FPX haven't just, tried to force onto, the 4-man before the 3-man. Now, sure, TF can always join with ulti, but you still have a very strong teamfighting comp. You have all the engage out, and like Daddy just said, if you can get on top of Gala and really disrupt him, you're going to have an easy time burning through their front line and other carries as well.
And there's only a few more minutes until this Elder Dragon spawns as well. This Baron buff is as good as gone, so the base isn't any more cracked, I suppose, than it was at like 18 minutes into the game. So we'll have to see if FPX now can still weather this storm, keep RNG off the towers, and look towards that Elder or even Baron.
I mean, they might be able to do it with just XiaoHu walking up to the turret, but Paranoia is stolen. Doinb can use this. He will fly in with Chris getting the engage. Khan's ulti first. Destiny from XiaoHu as well. And FPX, hold on.
That's what I like to see, engaging onto the tankiest member of RNG to make sure that you can't do anything with it. So now all that invested, and RNG can just continue back to their ways of playing through side lanes.
The worst part of it all, right, is like, whatever. If you're going to go for a pick on Leona somewhere else, that's fine. But they're sieging your base, so they're all in very close proximity to one another. So there's no way you're going to be able to burst out Ming before the other members can follow up and, dissuade that from happening.
So we just back off. RNG, it's time to reset, I guess, as FPX are going to clear out the waves, and we have silence for a while before those objectives.
The thing that's going to be tough for RNG, right, is the fact that FPX are able to just turtle out in their base. It's really hard for RNG to find a way to break down the inhibitors.
Yeah.
Like, sure, they could chunk out turrets. We saw with XiaoHu having that rapid fire cannon on the long range on his cards, but still, they always have to be afraid of an overstep and FPX being able to punish.
It does become a little bit interesting, though, with how close these two big objectives are up to spawn. We've got Elder Dragon that's about, just under a minute after that Baron spawn. So unless we have this big fight kick off super quickly for either squad, we can just end up with split objectives where both teams run to opposite sides of the map and try and see if they can find some way of working with Baron or Elder.
I feel like whichever team picks Baron is just going to lose the game, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, both sides have so much opportunity to get on the enemy team. Whoever has Elder should just come out ahead.
I suppose the difference in my head is that you've got Gala on this Aphelios, who can just run over and with Ming end up soloing out, or even with XiaoHu's help, and still with all these long-range engage tools you have in RNG, they can play towards that Baron while still having pressure at that Elder Dragon.
I feel like at this point it might just be too tough, though, right? Because if you're posturing close towards Baron and they throw out like the Enchanted Crystal Arrow or the Call of the Forge God, that pick is just going to come out of nowhere.
Done, yeah. So much potential. XiaoHu in the top side. We're going to track these lanes because 50 seconds till the Baron. The game-ending objectives, it feels like at this point, where 34 kills in a 37-minute game. It has been chaotic, to say the least. We've seen Aphelios. We've seen, I guess, Ashe. I was going to say we've seen Ornn, apparently. But there's been such a big focus here on Gala in his debut game on RNG. Looking on the other side of Lwx, he's not even up towards his full build yet. But we can see Doinb's heading there himself. Sylas has his 4th item in the Void Staff. And FPX, the strength is here. Enchanted Crystal Arrow is blocked by XiaoHu. Nicely done there. That's a cooldown on Lwx.
Not a particularly long one. It's going to be up in about 40 seconds. I think it was a minute long from right when he shot it. So now it's going to be RNG trying to pull FPX out of the base. But you already pointed out the items, right? Almost everyone is on full build. So we're at the point where one misstep and everything's over for your team.
And I mean, that arrow being down in front of the Baron, this goes down so quickly with an Aphelios. It requires Doinb's ultimate to come in with the flash over. It is secured, though. Tian can't get the steal away. Now he's stuck in the pit. Disengages. Baron is on RNG. But look, where's XiaoHu? Gets the gold card. Onto Chris. Solar Flare down there as well. The range from Gala. The Ninja Gaiden returns. 4 versus 5 as new ulti's big. XiaoHu gives nightmares to Lwx. And RNG with a man advantage. Now just need to finish this off. Khan with a multi knock-up. Stands nowhere near RNG's AD carry. They've got everything. They can run it down mid.
Go forward. Screw them. Just go towards the base. base. You've managed to do this. RNG managed to beat out the Mountain Soul FPX in a straight-up brawl.
Yeah, and it's been really confusing to see FPX. They just look like they don't know how to operate this team fight.
And RNG, with the man advantage still here, going to burn the TP down. Gala gets hit hard, but remember he has GA. Too far forward goes Doinb, as the first Nexus turret is going to drop down. Doinb with it as well. Tian behind enemy lines this time, because RNG have an exposed Nexus. Gala just needs to hit it, finds Tian. 2 members left in front of it, and Chris can't stop this one, as game 1 will come to a crashing end after RNG pulled out their namesake. A big bloody team fight.
And that was great to see from RNG. They definitely weren't trigger shy this game, playing extremely well as a team. Were some bumps in the road, but over to FPX, their frontliners did not know how to be frontliners this game.
There was a lot of question marks for FPX. The front line wasn't looking too hot. Giving over an inhibitor at 18, inhibitor tower at 18 minutes with this weird call. Like, there was a lot where I looked at FPX and said, what the hell are they thinking?
I mean, that was an explosive game to say the least. A lot of mistakes on both sides, but I think those individual plays, Gala proving himself in that first game. You said Betty should be sweating. Absolutely. We didn't get to see that quadra replay, but my lord, Betty showed us a Aphelios thing.
You mean Gala? But
Gala, sorry.
At the same time, it's confusing because we have that one play in mid-game where he gets hit by the dredge line and pretty much insta-loses his team fight when he could single-handedly carry it. But then we had 2 beautiful fights where he just single-handedly won them for RNG.
Yeah, and I think that was the beauty of it, was how RNG kind of set this up, because we talked about having this pick style that they can go for, and at least in the early stages of the game, we start to see XiaoHu being a bit more proactive, even shoving in that top lane to move towards mid and starting to get these numbers rolling in RNG's favor, because if you don't have this proactivity from XiaoHu, you just end up running into a moment where, well, you just have FPX outscale. They get to a point where their team fight's super strong. They have all these mountain drakes, but that 7,000 to 8,000 gold lead in those mid-game fights was the big difference here for RNG.
And I love how you highlighted XiaoHu's proactivity, because that's something we didn't see from Cryon, right? Like, XiaoHu came back in the roster. We saw the team more on the same page, more willing to do something. And if you are insistent on putting Cryon in this roster, it seems like go back to the E-Star style, having him on like late game carry mages. Yeah. But if you're going to play these more proactive style compositions, it looks like XiaoHu needs to be your man.
I mean, the biggest thing here was in that game-ending fight, you could see XiaoHu's positioning, setting up Crisp. And FPX, there was only one moment where they got that full 5-on-5 rummage through mid. Every other time, it started with RNG getting the pick off the back end and then running it through to the rest of the members.
And it felt really hard for FPX to try and deal with how RNG were going to play these fights, because Lwx an awful lot of times was just kind of being left on his own. So you did have XiaoLongbao playing towards that back line. And to be honest, XiaoLongbao did a really good job of creating a lot of attention towards himself, where you could see the Enchanted Crystal Arrow couldn't be used a lot of times, because you've got this Nocturne with this Spell Shield in the middle of it, and as well you're now pulling members from that big brawl to help the Ashe in the back line, and then you just have these man advantages where with Gala on this Aphelios, you just damage so quickly through these fights.
I do feel like, you know, sometimes XiaoLongbao was pulling good pressure and attention on themselves, sometimes a bit unnecessary, but I like that you said it didn't feel like Lwx really had a chance to shine, because typically everyone would jump on him. Doinb fell so far behind early on in the game. I think he was 1-5 at some point, so before he started picking up some kills. So he was pretty much a non-factor. We saw Khan pretty much do nothing.
Khan, I think, had his worst game in the year.
Summer.
Of the year.
Yeah. I mean, of the year, maybe in summer for sure, right?
For sure, yeah. And it's kind of disappointing because we look at Khan as like a carry top laner and someone who has been consistent for FPX, reliable top laner, to say the least. So I'm curious as to what changes now for FPX. This was not the game you expect out of a 2019 World Champions. A lot of mistakes, and a team that just maybe they were a bit trigger shy at some point, or at least they should have been trigger shy at some point.
Let's remember, they just had a pretty convincing win over Victory 5, right? Sure, they lost Game 1, but Game 2 and Game 3 were extremely convincing, and RNG has not looked hot. RNG series against WE was extremely confusing, and they've also, heck, they got 2-0'd by V5 themselves, so RNG definitely, you know, turning it on.
And I'm curious to see as we go on how we're going to start swapping things up here for FPX, because I felt like for me that Sylas pick never really did what it was supposed to. The whole idea was nick away the destiny and then you try and follow wherever this Twisted Fate is going. I think I'd prefer to see Doinb on something that can still have these big, impactful ults and team fights.
Agreed.
Like, even if you end up giving over at least the map pressure in the early stages, I felt like an Orianna could have worked wonders here. I can't remember exactly the ban phase. I don't know if the Rumble was left open as well.
Yeah, exactly.
As you were pointing out, the casting, something to get onto Gala in the back.
I still think Sylas was fine, right? You have the potential to get on the Gala. You even have some ultimates you could steal away to do that, like the Nocturne ultimate, but I'm not sold on the Comet. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And again, some of his destinies early on, like the one in bot lane where he wasn't able to find anything, it just started to set him too far behind while XiaoHu was able to get more elsewhere on the map.
I think at the very least for Doinb, even towards the later game, paranoia wasn't on point. I think Doinb falling back into one of the phases where we're saying, is this really the super carry or not? Game 1 questions for FPX, that's for sure. But RNG with a pretty decent win. We'll see if they can seal the deal right after this break.